Hello folks, Jason Chrisman, JC's Bees. It's January 18th, 2020. Boy, that sounds weird, don't it? Sounds like we ought to be keeping bees in space or something at this point. But anyway, here we are right in the middle of an ice storm. We've had 50-degree weather for about the last week, and the change is here. Tomorrow morning we're supposed to wake up about 20 degrees, so when you're watching this video, I'll be sitting by the fire, keeping warm. We walk around here this morning and look at the hives and look at all this precipitation. Look at my driveway. It's nothing but slush. It's starting to melt a little bit now. When I went up and fed the cows this morning, it was a hard sheet of ice, but the rain is starting to melt it. The problem is my pine trees, they're looking very, very heavy today. And this kind of weather just isn't kind to the pine trees. It likes to break limbs, and if you look down there, you can see the brown in that pine tree. That's the top of that pine tree. I just never cleaned it up last year. So it just shows we're getting some ice. You walk around here and look at the hives. If you follow the brood minder at all, you're going to notice a slight increase in weight overnight, and that is due to the ice collecting on the hive. I mean, if you look, I bet you there is a good 3/16 to a 1/4 inch of ice on that hive lid, not to mention the brick. So yeah, definitely an increase on the hive weights. What I'd like to talk to you a little bit about today while we walk around here and look at these colonies is some changes that have come to YouTube. One of them that's recently came out was put into effect by the FTC and the New York General, and it's called COPPA. And I can't remember exactly right now what that stands for. It's something like the Children's Protective Act. But the way that is the way this works, YouTube wants creators to now select whether your content is for children or adults. And if you choose children, then YouTube's going to shut off your comments. They're going to shut off ad revenue, and a whole other list of things they're going to shut off. And this is just to protect children, which I agree. Children should be protected. There shouldn't be anybody causing any problems for kids on videos, and that's what's had to happen to make this new rule come out. So what I would like to encourage each of you to do, and I know not all of you choose to support me on Patreon, and that's completely fine. I completely understand that. But you know, with YouTube making all these rules, it makes me wonder what would happen if YouTube were to shut down. How would my followers, or you guys, find me on YouTube? And that's why I would like you to go over to my Patreon page and at least follow me. Then if something would happen in the future and YouTube would say, let's say YouTube shuts down, you would be able to go to my Patreon page and you would still find all my content that would not be on YouTube anymore. I'd also like to mention that there's going to be some changes coming to my Patreon page, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be merging my two YouTube channels. So there's going to be JC's Bees and Grazing Acres Farm. Now what that's going to do is it's going to bring fresh new content to my page all the time. It's also going to give me one platform to work on versus trying to do so much on all these other platforms. So you'll be able to come there, see my farm content, JC's Bees content, and once I get all this done, there will be nice, neat, orderly tags to find the content you're looking for. So please take a minute, go over to my Patreon page, which is linked down below, and just click follow. I'd appreciate that, and that way we stay linked together, and who knows, you might find some of the free stuff on my Patreon page rather interesting or educational. So obviously I'm not going to select children for my video, because I know that the comments section alone is very valuable. So that alone tells me no, my content is not for kids, which is kind of discouraging, you know, at the same time, because although my content isn't directed toward children or kids, I have had quite a few kids watch my videos. As a matter of fact, my Caging a Queen Bee video is now up over 5 million views, and I have to say 3/4 of that is due to kids. Now, I do have to admit, their comments aren't always ideal, but you know, when you're getting the views, you just let the comments go. So that's just my little 2 cents there on the new rule change and my way of protecting what I have, my following and my content. So please, like I said, go over there and check that out. Now I'd like to take you into my shop. Now let's go up here and check these 3 colonies. Look at these trees. Nice heavy, look at the maple trees right here. You can see you got a little bud starting on the end of here. Now here in Ohio, it's usually about the end of February to mid-March before these start busting open. And once these start to bust open, that's when I feel that it's safe to start feeding pollen sub within the hive. You see, if you feed pollen sub, and I'm not talking winter patties, I'm talking pollen patties. If you feed pollen patties inside the colony too soon, what you'll do is you'll increase the brood production, and if it gets cold, the bees aren't going to leave that brood. They're going to stay right there, and that could be very deadly for the colonies. So my recommendation to you, watch the maple tree buds and mimic nature. When you see nature providing pollen, then you provide it, not before. Nice and slickery. That's what they look like, nice and slickery. Hey, look at that. Poor bees. So anyway, what I'd like to do now is go in my shop and kind of show you what I've been playing with here the last couple days. So let's head in there where it's a little bit drier and slightly warmer. Okay, so we're in my wood shop, which isn't real big. My wood shop consists of an old box truck cab, and it's not real big, and the lighting in here isn't so great on camera. So what I'm going to do is come over here what I want to talk about, and we're going to go straight to that. I was going to kind of give you a little tour, but not enough lighting, so we'll work on the topic at hand. What we have here is a box that was given to me over summer, actually by a Patreon. Stopped by and brought me some equipment. And what this is a box that you would use for cut comb. You would take these miniature frames, and I would imagine you would probably put a starter strip of some sort in the top, and then you fill the whole box full, in which there's 13 frames per side when it's full on both sides. So you got 26 frames. And then as the honey flow starts, instead of putting a super on, you would add this. And what the bees will do is they'll draw out from the starter strip down in the comb, and then they'll start storing nectar in there and drying it down and capping it. And once you get to that stage, you can, instead of removing a super, you would remove this whole box. You would take a knife, cut around the edge, and take out the whole section of comb. Then you would put it in a comb honey container for sale. So that's how that would work. But my idea when I first seen this box was, oh boy, mating nuke frames, mini mating nuke frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a mini mating nuke, we'll call it a build out box. So what I'll do is I'll stick this on a strong colony, the excluder underneath of it, and I'll let them draw out all this foundation and get some honey stored in it, in these frames. Once we get to that point, then I will remove this whole box and use these frames for my mini mating nukes to get queens mated. And at that point, hopefully, we've got comb drawn and we've got food stored in them. Maybe even some pollen, that would be wonderful. And then it'll make all the resources to get the mini mating nuke started already in there. That would just be awesome. So what I've done is I've started to make some more. I've got let's see here, I got some bottom bars, which is down here. I've got my top bars, which I've started on here, and those will be up here. And what I'm using to make these, years ago, had somebody give me some bee equipment that they had made themselves, and I got a 5-gallon bucket full of top bars without the little wedge. So I'm going to use these. I'm going to cut them. I've been cutting them down to make my top bars, and I will have to make a little wedge or cleat to go in here to push over against the foundation so it gets pinched. But I see this working very, very well. Now, I thought I had one laying here that I already cut out, but I don't see it right this second, so I'm not sure where it went. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be really handy. So after I get the rest of these frames built for this side, I'm probably going to build 2 more of these. Now, the only thing I don't really like about this particular layout is the 13 frames per side. So what I may do is pull a frame and then just stick a solid board down here. And that gives me 12 per side. Or if I wanted to do 6 frame mating nukes, there would be 6, 6, 6, and 6. And then each box would make 4 mating nukes. So I have to figure out exactly how many I want and how many frames I want and my many mating nukes to know for sure which direction I want to go with this. I would probably rather have 5 frames per mating nuke, maybe even 4. So, you know, you just got to play around with it and see what you're comfortable with, but I know I want at least 4 frames. So if we go 4 frames, then we've got mini mating nuke, mini mating nuke, mini mating nuke. And now we've got 6 colonies of frames in one box. So I kind of like that configuration. And if you look at 4 frames together, it looks like it would be a pretty substantial size mini mating nuke, or pretty comparable with what's on the market nowadays. So that's something I may consider. So that's just something I've been playing around with here in the wood shop. I got this to do, and then I have a ton of nukes to put together. So shop time is a good way to spend days like today. So that's probably what I'll be doing later after I get this video edited and uploaded for you guys tomorrow morning. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you'll throw me a big thumbs up and take a minute to subscribe. And if you do subscribe, make sure you click on that little bell so you get notified when I release new videos. Remember what I said, please just take a second and go over to my Patreon page and follow me. That way you're able to find my content just in case something ever would happen on YouTube. You know, you don't like, let's put it this way. If you own something or something belongs to you, and all of a sudden somebody else is going to tell you, no, you can't do that, well, you got to start to think, well, I'm going to protect what's mine. And that's all I'm trying to do here. So if YouTube decides that they're going to go away, it ain't going to interfere with what we've got here, folks. Thanks for watching JC's Bees.